Now let's take a look at stage number one in a bit more detail. What is stage number one? It is problem definition. So what are we doing in problem definition? By deciding what problem to solve, we are also deciding what problem not to solve. Out of hundreds of possible problems, we have to choose one. We have to choose no to rest of 99. This is what we mean by problem definition. So prioritization. Then sticking to that problem. When we understand the problem thoroughly, it helps us make a lot of decision accordingly. So problem is actually decided by business impact. What do we mean by that? Any problem which doesn't impact the end users. Let's take this PowerPoint as an example. PowerPoint is a slideshow creator. Its users are the end users. So if there is supposed to be a new feature in PowerPoint, we actually have to think about what is the impact on the final users, which are generally trainers or teachers. So when we are solving a real problem, that is when a real value is generated. If the problem is not as impactful, then it is not probably the right problem. Then there is a second thing. You see, when we define a problem correctly, we actually can also understand if a AI solution is needed for this or not. At this stage, even if let's say by some mistake a non-AI problem comes into the pipeline, it is where it is illuminated. So at stage number one is where it is illuminated. We take a hard look at the problem and see, is it a AI problem? For this, do we need to solve this ourselves, or are there any ready-made solutions in the market? Details like this are analyzed here. So it is very important. You see, we don't want to reinvent the wheel unnecessarily. We will reinvent the wheel if it is necessary. There is an example for it. So reinventing the wheel actually really happened in this challenge. So this thing was reinvent a wheel to be used on a Mars rover. So surface of Mars, which is very uneven because of lots of rocks which are present there, and also the weight of the rover, which is extremely high. So there was a need to reinvent the wheel because it was a different context. Similarly, there might be a situation where we do need to reinvent the wheel, but we actually need to know for sure if is this the situation where we need to do that, or can we use a ready-made solutions. And you see, once we understand a problem thoroughly, then we can actually choose the approach. You see, is it a machine learning problem? Is it a deep learning problem? What kind of problem in machine learning is it? So that appropriate resources can be allocated. What do I mean by resource? Think of it from a company perspective. A company wants to do a project. For that project, what are the resources? It's not laptop, it's not internet, it's human resources. That's why the word HR comes into picture, human resources. So whenever we are assigning someone, some human, to work on a certain problem, to build its solution, we actually need to match the skills of the human to the skills required to solve the problem. That is what we mean by appropriate allocation of resources. And all that consideration is part of stage number one.